Namaste. Aloha. My name is Janapati Das, and welcome to the Bhagavad Gita as it is class. Please accept my respects, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I'd like to take the opportunity to praise my spiritual master, Jagat Guru Siddhaswarup Ananda Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, and A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my spiritual grandfather, and the translator and purporter, I guess that's the word, purporter, on this Bhagavad Gita as it is that we've been reading and discussing. Today we are going to continue with chapter 10. We've read 5 verses in there, and this is entitled The Opulence of the Absolute. So please take a moment and chant Krishna's names with me with kirtan, and we'll get right into our class. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I was born in the darkness, ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. Okay. We are reading chapter 10. So we have been reading the opulence of the Absolute, and Krishna is imparting more knowledge to, which is really nice. This first verse that the Supreme Lord said, "My dear friend, mighty armed Arjuna, listen again to my supreme word, which I shall impart to you for your benefit, and which will give you great joy." So we get great joy from discoursing about Krishna. We'd also read the different qualities, including intelligence and knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, self-control and calmness, pleasure and pain, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy are created by me alone. So, text 6. Maharshaya Sapta Purve Katvaro Manavastata Madbhava Manashajata Isham Lokamima Prajaha Marashaya. The great sages, Sapta 7, Purve before, Chatvaraha 4, Manavaha Manus, Tata also, Matbhavaha born of me, Manashaha from the mind, Jata born, Yesham of them, Loke the planets, Ima all these, Prajaha population. So the Sanskrit word prajaha, which means population, also related to the English word progenitors. Very interesting. Some Sanskrit word and how it derivatives from different languages. The 7 great sages, and before them the 4 great other sages and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, are born out of my mind, and all creatures in these planets descend from them. So at the creation of the universe, there are Manus, or progenitors of mankind, who populate the earth, populate the planets, populate the universe, actually. The Lord is giving a genealogical synopsis of the universal population. Brahma is the original creature born out of the energy of the Supreme Lord, known as Hiranyagarbha. And from Brahma, all the great sages, 7 great sages, and before them 4 other great sages named Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatan, Sanat Kumara, and the Manus are manifest. So these are children of Lord Brahma, the 4 great sages, Kumara brothers. All these 25 great sages are known as the patriarchs of the living entities all over the universe. There are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe. So take note of that. So we're just trying to get a grasp on our one small universe that we live in, which is not really that small comparatively to our existence of where we're at. It's amazing, where our bodies are so large on a microscopic and subatomic level, like universes with themselves, but from our position, we are so small, like little subatomic particles within the universe. And this is one universe with multiple 12 to 16 dimensions of which we do not perceive through our limited senses. And then here Bhaktivedanta is stating in its purport, there are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe, and each planet is full of population of different varieties. All of them are born of these 25 patriarchs. Brahma underwent penance for 1,000 years of the demigods before he realized by the grace of Krishna how to create. So that's why it said that Brahma is the creator, but the primary creator is Krishna, because by the grace of Krishna, the information to Lord Brahma had to meditate, to learn through mantras how to create this universe. Then from Brahma, Sanatan, Sanat Kumara came out, then Rudra, Lord Shiva, and then the great sages. And in this way, all the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are born out of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma is known as Picha Maha, the grandfather, and Krishna is known as Prapita Maha, the father of the grandfather. That is stated in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 39. And the creation of this universe by Lord Brahma is also stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hopefully, as we've started the reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the purports, we'll get to this story. It's pretty amazing. Text 7. Etam vibhutim yogam cha. Mama yoveti tatvataha. So vikalpena yogena. Yujyate natra samshaya. Etam, all this, vibhutim, opulence, yogam cha, also mystic power, mama, of mine, yaha, anyone, veti, knows, tatvataha, factually, saha, he, avikalpena, without division, yogena, in devotional service, yujyate, engaged, na, never, atra, here, samshaya, doubt. Translation, he who knows in truth this glory and power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. And so this is pretty amazing, once again reinstating this fact that he who knows in truth knows the absolute truth through the grace of their spiritual master and service to their spiritual master. The glory and power of Krishna is reinstated in there and engages in the unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. So there's no doubt. Here's Krishna basically laying out the absolute truth. Krishna is the absolute truth. The process of bhakti yoga is the absolute truth. It is not different than Krishna. And this word unalloyed, so you have like alloy, like metals, right? Sometimes you mix metals in, I don't know what they call that, as metallurgy. I forget what they call it. There's a word for it. Alchemism? I don't know. Anyway, but it's mixing of metals, right? You have to mix metals sometimes. And unalloyed means that the devotional service is not mixed with any kind of fruitive desire or speculation or any kind of ulterior motive, except for the service of Krishna and love and devotion. Purport: the highest summit of spiritual perfection is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one is firmly convinced of the different opulences of the Supreme Lord, he cannot engage in devotional service. Generally, people know that God is great, but they do not know in detail how God is great. Here are the details. If one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord. When one factually knows the opulences of the Supreme, then there is no alternative but to surrender to him. This factual knowledge can be known from the descriptions in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and similar literatures. In the administration of this universe, there are many demigods distributed throughout the planetary system. Millions. Something like 330 million or something. And the chief among them are Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the four great Kumaras and other patriarchs. There are many forefathers of the population of the universe, and all of them are born of the Supreme Lord Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original forefather of all forefathers. These are some of the opulences of the Supreme Lord. When one is firmly convinced of them, he accepts Krishna with great faith and without any doubt, and he engages in devotional service. All this particular knowledge is required in order to increase one's interest in loving devotional service of the Lord. One should not neglect to understand fully how great Krishna is, for by knowing the greatness of Krishna, one will be able to be fixed in sincere devotional service. Text 8. Aham sarvasya parabhavo mataha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam Buddha bhava samanvitaha aham I sarvasya of all prabhavaya, source of generation. Mataha, from me, sarvam, everything. Pravartate, emanates. Iti, thus, matva, knowing. Bhajanti, becomes devoted. Very interesting, the different flavors of this word bhajante, bhaja, or bhajan. Sometimes it's translated as worship, other times it's translated as in a deeper meaning to render service to, and here it becomes devotion, becomes devoted. Mam, unto me, buddhaha, learned, bhava samanvitaha, with great attention. Another really interesting word is this word prabhavaha and pravartate, which is a source of generation and emanates. When you have a source of, like the sun, that is a source of the generation of heat and light, which emanates. And Krishna, and here Krishna is stating that he is the source of generation. So he says here in his translation, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. So like the sun is the source of heat and light and life for the earth, Krishna is the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. And we've come across this in many descriptions of what Krishna is and what, being the source of strength and the source of ability in man and the taste of water and things like that. But just even more so, everything that emanates comes from Krishna. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So this is why it's Krishna consciousness, because everything animate and inanimate is owned and controlled, emanates from Krishna. The learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya, and who knows how to apply these teachings, can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literatures agree that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, it is said, Yo Brahmanam Vidadati, Purvam Yo Vai Vedamscha Gapayati Shma Krishna. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge, and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again it is said, Atta Purusho Havai Narayano Kamanyata Prajaha Sri Jaya Iti Upakrama. Then the Supreme Personality of God, Supreme Personality Narayan, desired to create living entities. Again it is said, also we remember in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Krishna book, when there was disturbance in the end of the previous yuga, the beginning of the Krishna book, by the Kshatriya race of demoniac kings, that caused distress to the earth planet, deity and the earth planet. People were suffering. There was great sinful activities going on. Bhumi went to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma went to Vishnu, or Krishna, for the instructions about what to do. Narad Yanad, again it is said, Narad Yanad, Brahma Jayate, Narayanad, Prajapati Prajayate, Narayanad Indro Jayate, Narayanad Ashtav Vashavo Jayante, Narayanad Ekadasha Rudra Jayante, Narayadad Devadashadityaha. So Narayan, right? From Narayan, Brahma is born, and from Narayan, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayan, Indra is born, and from Narayan, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayan, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayan, the 12 Ajitas are born. It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmanayo Devaki Putraha, the son of Devaki, Krishna is the Supreme Personality. Then it is said, okay, another very long Sanskrit, Eko vai narayana ashin na brahma na ishano na po nagi samal neme divad apri dvivi na nakshatrani na shulya sa ekaki na ramante tasha dayantaha stasya yatra chando gai krim kriya manashtakadi sam ganaka stuti stomaha stomanuchate. Woo! It's like tongue workout there. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality, Narayan. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no fire, no moon, no stars in the sky, no sun. There was only Krishna, who creates all and enjoys all. In the many Puranas, it is said that Lord Shiva was born from the highest, the Supreme Lord Krishna, and the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. In the Moksha Dharma, Krishna also says, Prajapatim cha rudram kapiyaham eva shrajami vaitao hi mam na vijanto mama mayim vimohitao. The patriarch Shiva and others are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In Varaha Purana, it is also said, Narayana paro devash tashmaj chatash chatur mukha tashmad rudro bhava devaha sa cha sarva ganatam nakat gata. Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, and from whom Shiva was born. Lord, yeah, it's a very interesting story about Lord Brahma, and I think it's because Lord Brahma, being in the mode of passion by the Creator, had daughters, and one of his daughters, he became lustful and started to try to chase after, and being a what's the word? A Brahmana, being a Lord Brahma, his sons who were Brahmanas, or pure devotees, criticized Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma got very angry, and from his anger he furrowed his eyebrows, and from that anger came Rudra, who was the mode of ignorance. When he was Rudra or Shiva was created. Lord Krishna is the source of all generations, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says that because everything is born of me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me, no one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master and from Vedic literature, who engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness, becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna-conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad Gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. Text 9. Machita madgata prana bodhayantaha parash param katayantash chamam nicham tustanti cha ramanti cha. Machitaha, minds fully engaged in me. Matgata prana, lives devoted to the service of Krishna. Bodhayantaha, preaching. Parash param, among themselves. Kata yantaha cha, talking also. Mam, about me. Nicham, perpetually. Tushtani, are pleased. Cha, also. Ramanti, enjoy transcendental bliss. Cha, also. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. So we've begun this Srimad Bhagavatam, and at the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, although we haven't really quite got to the story, there are the great sages of Naimisharanya have gathered together, great devotees of Krishna, headed by Suta Goswami, who was the son of Romershan, who was killed by Lord Balaram in the Krishna book because of his offense of not standing in the presence of Lord Balaram. But this is a wonderful verse, and Krishna is saying that the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction, tusta, satisfaction, and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. So there's a lot of, we've said this before, that there's so much literature and so many lectures by our spiritual masters. To waste your time on talking and reading nonsense stuff and discussing, for example, sometimes I'm at the store and I see these people that are sitting there talking about the coffee at McDonald's or something, the coffee at McDonald's is not very good. No, I actually like the coffee at McDonald's. It is actually pretty good. You know what's a good coffee place? They just sit there wasting time talking about the coffee at McDonald's, or just things that are really not beneficial to their life. But a devotee of Krishna really just wants to talk about things that are related to Krishna. That's all they want to talk about. They get the greatest satisfaction. They don't care if they know about the latest movie or the latest book that's out or whatever the craze is, and if it has nothing to do with Krishna, then they're not really interested, because it's just like eating sand, as my spiritual master would say. Just going out into the mirage of the desert, and you're just like, well, that looks kind of cool because it's purple, and I'll just try that. It's sand, or it's, the camel eating thorns. But transcendental knowledge, transcendental literatures, and transcendental subject matters are wonderful to discuss. And this is, these stories in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the devotees of Krishna, and devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, the disciples, this is perfectly explaining them. They talk about the transcendental pastimes of Krishna and Radha, and they enlighten one another and converse about me. This is what spiritual life should be about, is learning how to go deeper into your spiritual life, how the transcendental information applies in your life, how it applies to everything. So this is a beautiful verse, one of my favorite. I'm going to read it again. So if you want to reference this is chapter 10, text 9. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. So Bhaktivedanta Swami says, pure devotees, whose characteristics are mentioned here, engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental subjects. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And so this gathering of great sages, they weren't just talking about the weather or like, yeah, I remember this time I was in this part of India and, was hanging out with my friend and da-da-da. No, they're talking about Krishna. They're going deeper and deeper into the transcendental literature and the transcendental talks and enlightening each other. And they're doing this for a long period of time. Actually, I think it was several thousands of years that they were in this meeting discussing the pastimes of Krishna. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself. And in the mature stage, they are actually situated in love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection, which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them, there are a few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. Such a rare and wonderful opportunity we have to come into contact with our spiritual master and the devotee of Krishna, and to be able to hear his words. That is very rare. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity and it goes on hearing and chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That seed fructifies, just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. A spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahma Jyoti effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavan, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as a plant grows fruits and flowers, the plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. Such a beautiful purport. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narration about the relationship between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized soul in Krishna consciousness takes continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literatures, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. Wonderful. Text 10. Tesham shatata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. Tesham, unto them, Satata Yuktanam, always engaged, Bhajatam, in devotional service, Priti Purvakam, in loving ecstasy, Dadami, I give, Buddhi Yogam, real intelligence, Tam, that, Yena, by which, Mam, unto me, Apayanti, come, Te, they. Text 10, translation. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Such a beautiful 2 verses that are together. I want to read those together, actually, 9 and 10. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are surrendered to me. And they derive great satisfaction and bliss, enlightening one another and conversing about me. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. And so that word he's translated here as worship, again, is bhajatam, which has to do with rendering loving service in love. So wonderful that through the discussion, through pure devotees and the devotion and service in love, Krishna will give you, as it said in the Vedas, all the imparts of Vedic wisdom will be given to you. And this is what Krishna is telling Arjuna, that you just need to surrender to me and not worry, and you will understand. And Arjuna is understanding. He's surrendering here, and he's being given the transcendental knowledge because he has no envy. He's completely an open book. He's open vessel to Krishna's transcendental knowledge. Purport in this verse, the word buddhi yogam is significant. Buddha means intelligence. Yogam means service to Krishna. We may remember that in the 2nd chapter, the Lord, instructing Arjuna, said that he had spoken to him of many things, and yet he would instruct him in the way of buddhi yoga. Now, buddhi yoga is explained. Buddhi yogam itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. So the activity of rendering to Krishna in Krishna consciousness is the highest intelligence, most intelligent thing to do. Buddhi means intelligence, and yogam means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to God, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called buddhi yogam. In other words, buddhi yogam is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world, and that's the greatest intelligence, to try to use in your activities to try to get out of the system that's causing you so much stress and unhappiness. Using your intelligence, right? The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People who do not know this, therefore the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is aligned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. It's really important to understand that association is key. Whoever and whatever group of people that you associate with is going to ultimately have some sort of outcome or goal to where you go in life. If you hang out with drug users and criminals, you're more likely to engage in criminal and drug activity down the line. If you hang out with people who are like-minded on a certain topic or political, you're more likely to echo that political stance, right? So that's pretty common sense. Similarly, and more importantly, powerfully, hanging around devotees of Krishna and engaging in discourse about Krishna is so powerful. It's even beyond the material concept of any of the other things that we're talking about. It's so powerful and so intoxicating that you are drawn into it. And it's a wonderful thing. I don't know where I was, okay. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. Okay, so here it's differentiated from what buddhi yoga is to karma yoga, or karma yoga is to buddhi yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, then he is acting on Jnana Yoga. So that's very interesting. So Krishna is instructing that if you have fruitive attractions, desires for fruits from the material world, it's better to engage those in Krishna service. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And that will purify your heart. If you're interested in knowing things through the mental speculation, and it's done through Jnana Yoga. And then when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in Bhakti Yoga or Buddha Yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but still, if he is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. And this is done via the spiritual master. The spiritual master gives you instructions. Engage in sadhana bhakti, or practice of bhakti yoga. Chant a certain amount of rounds every day, do the solitude time, do these kinds of activities, chant Krishna's names. And even if it's not in a completely pure bhakti yoga perspective, if it still has, there's certain kinds of desires and attractions, it purifies the heart and helps lead you closer to Krishna and the service of Krishna. The qualification is that a person must always engage himself in Krishna consciousness, and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is intelligent enough, he will make progress on the path of self-realization. If one is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. Text 11. Check on the time there. Okay. Tesham evanu kampartam aham magana jam tamah nasham yami atma bhavashtyo ganna dipena bhashvata. Tesham, for them, eva, certainly, anu kampartam, to show special mercy, aham, I, aganam jam, due to ignorance, tamaha, darkness, nashayami, dispel, atma, within, bhavashtaha, themselves, gana, of knowledge, dipena, with the lamp, bhashvata, glowing. Another really beautiful verse. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Another beautiful verse. So beautiful. Krishna, and we there's so much you could say on this verse. The prayer we say, I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances to him. Because Krishna is the external manifestation of Krishna. The spiritual master is the external manifestation of Krishna. And here Krishna is telling, as his spiritual master and as the spiritual master of all living entities and the source of all living entities, he has compassion for all living entities. And this is a sign of a pure devotee, because they are completely dovetailed in Krishna's service. Krishna has compassion for them. Therefore, they have compassion for others. Like Lord Jesus Christ was completely dovetailed in will, and he had great compassion for the living entities who he came into contact with, trying to teach them about how to destroy this darkness and ignorance, destroy their ignorance through this light of knowledge. It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful, you can reflect on this. It's such a beautiful thing. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda, a very influential and learned scholar in Benares, at that time derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. So a lot of monists think that, well, these people don't study the Vedanta Sutras, even though Lord Chaitanya points out why the chanting of Krishna's names is the sum bonum and conclusion of the Vedanta Sutras. Krishna is the conclusion of the Vedanta Sutras. He explains that why, but it's true. They think that they're just sentimentalists trying to, chant and sing and dance and pretend like they're, being sentimental. It's kind of like sentimental, like when you hear the really nice song and you think about on the radio and it brings you back to a time when you had a really good time in your life, and that's sentimental, right? So I think that this is sentimentalism. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion, but even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. Actually, I left out a sentence here. So they were saying, sometimes philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not the fact. I don't want to leave these things out. So then jumping ahead where we left off. I'll just continue where I left. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion, but even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. This is, once again, Krishna will provide that understanding for the devoted. The devoted soul could be completely, as we've come across in many, many cases, illiterate, not very intelligent materially, the lowest of all mankind, but they could be the most knowledgeable by the grace of their devotion, of their surrender in their heart. The modern philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, the answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they are without sufficient education and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God, as stated in this verse. So yeah, it's very, we can see the prime example of many scientists and whatnot and commentary scholars who Bhaktivedanta, once again, brought up in the beginning of this Bhagavad Gita as it is, in the introduction, because they're envious, because they want to be known as Krishna, they want to show off their great knowledge. They're not surrendered to Krishna. They deny Krishna, or they minimalize Krishna. They could be very intelligent, yet have not really any kind of complete misunderstanding, have a complete misunderstanding about anything, not really be intelligent at all. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the supreme truth, the absolute truth, the supreme personality of God, simply by speculating. For the supreme truth is so great that it is not possible to understand him or to achieve him simply by making a mental effort. Our mental facilities are so messed up and so polluted and so convoluted that to think that we even have the ability to try to understand something as pure and wonderful as Krishna through our little polluted pool of thoughts is laughable, actually. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the supreme truth, he will never understand Krishna of the supreme truth. My spiritual master has made this point that Krishna is a person. He's not a mountain that you climb like Mount Everest. Krishna, if you want to try to climb on top of him, or this kind of relationship, there's a relationship going on between the devotee and Krishna. This is what Bhagavad Gita is about. Krishna and Arjuna are having a relationship. It's about relating. It's not like some kind of concept that we have to conquer with our minds, but that's what a lot of people think. That's how they treat education. If I just learn, more I learn, the more I know, and the greater thinker I am. And that's the way it goes. Your soup cans. How much knowledge am I going to gather, and which soup am I going to take out, right? And use. So this is not how Vedic knowledge is understood. It is received in a descending lineage. All glories to the congregational chanting of Krishna's names, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated together. The power of Krishna and the knowledge, the absolute truth, is so powerful that it can cleanse. You don't just try to capture it and that's mine now, right? Krishna imparts that knowledge to you. Krishna gives you that knowledge to those who are constantly devoted and worshiping me with love. I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Krishna provides the knowledge to us because we want to have that knowledge. We want to have that relationship, not because of some egotistical false ego thing I'm going to be a great thinker or whatever, but because I should not say we're, because it's not me, because I'm a sinful person, but just saying in general, right? The great devotees of Krishna are surrendered. I'm not surrendered. I'm very fallen. So I just can only hope that I can have that kind of surrender that my spiritual master does, and I work on it. Anyway. Only by devotional service is the supreme truth Krishna pleased, and by his inconceivable energy he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, therefore he is just like the sun that dissipates the darkness of ignorance. This is a special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Beautiful. Due to the contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is covered with the dust of materialism, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years together. Association. By the association is we either have the dust covering us, or the dust is cleared away by our association with Krishna. We have that choice. We can say we want one or we want the other. We could say we don't want to have Krishna and we don't want to have Maya, but that's still Maya Devi. There's not multiple choices. Due to contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism, but when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears, and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal of Vishnu can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, for he is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the Gita's teachings. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a completely surrendered soul to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. Wonderful. And I think we're going to stop there. Next time we'll pick up with chapter 10, verse 12. Thank you very much. Namaste.